Well, I went back to Mission. Actually, I went back to Mission 2 times. The first time I went was a couple weeks ago, and I just can't give up on Mission. It's only 15 minutes from the house. It's a country drive to get there. I know I said, what was that, back in August in my video where it was dead. It was very discouraging to see all those dead fish and the dead rat and all that decaying matter floating on the surface, collecting flies. It was very discouraging seeing all that. I really thought the only survivors would be these little itty bitty fish, and all the big boys that died. But like I said, I did go back, but it's hard for me to give up on it. You know, folks, I've only been fishing the Salem Keizer area since the summer of 21. So this is actually only my 3rd year of being fishing the fisheries around here, and I'm getting the idea now of the cycle you have to go through. The areas that I fish are highly susceptible to the Willamette River, and the Willamette River, it is pretty shallow from downtown Salem here, you know, at the Wallace Marine boat ramp. It's only 10 feet here, you know, except where the Willamette Queen is parked. You know, you got maybe like a 14 feet. I'm talking summertime depths, you know, and you got like a little bit 12, 16 feet maybe here, and then it really drops shallow, and then of course the slough, which is 10 feet and a flat structure underneath, but the maximum 10 feet there in the summertime. So really, you know, you got 10 feet there, and I'm going to imagine all the way to Independence is talking this way too, but I haven't done that, so I won't say officially. But then, you know, we're talking inches. You know, we're around this island up here, and you know, then maybe 8 feet, 6 feet, you know, then maybe you might get back to around a 10 foot in this area, and then once you make this bend right here, right along this rock wall that they make here, and at the boat ramp, then you're back to 20 feet. Okay, 16, 20 feet there, and then rapidly it drops to 6, 4 feet, 3 feet. Right here at Rice Rocks, you got a good maybe a 14 foot there, but then it drops right to 6, 8 feet, and it just turns into inches, and I literally mean inches, and then 6 feet, 8 feet, you know, and then once you make it back on Windsor Bay or Windsor Bar here, the Windsor Bar, you know, 6, 8 feet, might have like 8 feet there. You know, this again, this is all summertime stuff. You know, and then inches, and I mean 1, 2 inch. If you ever watched any of my videos when I went down river, you know, I almost get caught with that. And then right on this bend here again, then you're starting to get back into the 10 feet, 12 feet, and then at the ferry, I don't remember, I think it's like 14 foot at the ferry. So the average depth of the Willamette River is 10 feet. I will give it that during the summertime. So it doesn't take much for this area of the Willamette River to actually flood, and which that's what it does every winter and spring. We get all that rain. In the spring we get the rain mixed with the snow melt. So you stay off the river, and you have to go to places like Mission, but you really can't do Mission too much in the flooding time, because what happens at Mission, and this is what I mentioned this when I said that the Mission Lake was dead. I knew that in the springtime it washes out, and it washes out because it floods over this, and then you can see this trench right here. This trench right here is where the river flows, then goes right over here, goes right over this road, closing the park, and then here's Mission Lake. you know, and it washes out Mission Lake, and the Mission Lake comes out and comes right back into the main river. There's a small channel right here, and there's a footbridge right there, and that's where it goes right back into the main river again. So it washes out. My only fear was, back in August, was that all the big guys were dead, and the only thing that's left is the little ones. So when I said it was dead, I was saying more like along like your 4 or 5 pounders. They either didn't survive, or they took an advantage to get the hell out of there. Whatever poisoned them, I don't know if it's a poison or if it was just the water got too shallow and the weeds got too thick and they couldn't maneuver and they just died where they, you know, they drowned maybe, you know, because they can't move, or they starved because they can't move because the weeds were so thick. And the weeds were so thick that a rat tried to cross it and drown because he got tangled up in the weeds. So yeah, it got really, really bad. And I did go back, like I said last week, and I didn't get so much as a bite, which is not unusual at Mission for the spring. But I met up with another gentleman. He gave me his card. He met him up there, and I guess he's a representative of Native Watercraft, who I got my kayak from at Next Adventure in Portland. And he's also a member of the OKBF, the Oregon Kayak Bass Fishing Organization. Anyway, he was there, and he said he caught a big bass. And I remember correctly, Marvin said he caught that big bass. And I think he was in this area up here where the channel is, that's almost where the river is. And he caught a big bass somewhere around here, if I remember correctly. So that to me was like, oh, good news. As he was saying, it was like 4 or 5 pounder. It was a really nice bass, which is the typical bass for Mission. So I was encouraged when I heard that. I said, thank goodness, you know, that quite possibly it's the big guys have survived. And another thing that I've noticed when I was unloading the kayak at the launch, which is right here. One of the good signs that I see in any body of water, one of the good signs is when you see little fish that have hatched and they're sitting in like 4 or 5 inches of water sunning themselves, because, you know, the water temp is 48, you know, to 58 degrees, and it's a nice sunny day. There's little tiny hatchlings or in really shallow water. And I see that. I saw it at Mission now both times right there at the boat launch. And I see it at Minto Brown, and I've seen it in a lot of, you know, ponds and lakes, like even at Cascade Gateway Park. If there's spawning going on, because I mean, what, bluegill spawn like 3 or 4 times a year, the horny little buggers, you know, if there's enough food for them, they should be spawning there, and you should be seeing little tiny fish on a nice warm day, you know, spring day. You should see those little tiny fish in those little 3 or 4 inches of water sunning themselves. A good sign at that, and I would give it a try, and I'm going to continue to try there, you know, and especially May 25th, my, you know, 2 years in a row now, you know, 22 and 23, on May 25th I caught the biggest bass I've ever caught. So I got to beat the, what was last year's, 4 pound 7 ounces, 4 pounds 6 ounces, something like that. So I got to beat that this year, and hopefully I can. Monday of this week, I went back to Mission one more time, and I did get one little action, and let's take a look at that. Okay, yeah, I thought I'd try a little top water. There's one little pop. This little guy, probably 4 or 5 inches. There was a little bit of an explosion there. Okay, finally I found somebody. Okay, there I had probably somebody that was close to a pound, probably. Okay, well, there we go. you know, there was something. Like I said, probably really tiny guys. I was using this topwater. It's a sunfish right here on the bluegill, but you know, it's got some meaty hooks on it. You know, so given the size, you know, the hooks are back here. Given the size of this thing, you know, a small bass wouldn't have been able to get hooked. I mean, he probably grabbed here, that second bite that actually took it under, he probably grabbed here and totally missed the hooks because he was just a small guy. Now, I could have changed, saying that I found him, I could have changed and went to something that I know catches smaller bass. I've done it at Mission, and I've done it at Mission Brown, and that would be switching over to this 4-aught hook like that, and switched over to the Zoom Horny Toad. You know, you just put him on. It's a weightless rigging, and gosh, it's been so long, I don't know if I remember how to do it. You stick it through there and get it up there like that, and then you got the hook, and you just stick it through. There's a slot here. Stick it through that slot, stick it all the way through, so it's sticking out like that, and you just boop. And if you want to bury the hook just ever so slightly, so that it's completely weightless, but there is a ridge there. You don't really have to bury the hook too much, but there is like that. You just set there like that, and there you go. You know, and it sinks a little bit and it floats a little bit depending on, you know, which ones you get. I get these at the BiMart here in Keizer, and the hooks as well. 4-aught is the best size for this. And anyway, it's kind of like a jerk bait, or you can even just slow roll it in, because these legs do a lot of flopping noise. And I've caught really small bass, and I probably would have caught the little buggers that were trying to get that large bluegill lure on this if I really wanted to make sure I didn't get stumped. But again, I was just really excited to see that there was still some life there, life that was slightly interested in a lure, and so I'll be going back. I will be going back there, and I'm going to try again, because there's one thing as a bass angler. One of the reasons that you took up bass fishing is that you like the challenge. And by saying that, I just copied what Bill Dance said, and I'm going to put a link of a Bill Dance video that just got released about how to be a bass fisherman, and you know, how to concentrate. And he doesn't really talk much about the lures as much as he talks about why we bass fish, and what you really need to do in order to be an angler. I went back to Mission discouraged, a negative attitude, and I got, you know, 2 trips, and I didn't catch anything, because I came there thinking that there wasn't much left. You know, the second trip I had a little more, an idea that there was going to be something there, but I was still kind of like, is there really? You know. And but no, I'm going to go back next time with full thought that yes, there are the big fish did survive. They're in there, and it's time for me to concentrate, knuckle down, and really bass fish. Okay, it's not trout. You know, you can just put a marshmallow on a hook and throw it on the bottom and have the idiots hook themselves. You know, this is bass fishing. There's a lot more to it. And if you don't believe me, then use that link in my description for the Bill Dance video, and listen to Bill. He taught me when I lived in Illinois how to bass fish, just watching his show on cable. And You couldn't have found a better person to tell you how to bass fish and Bill Dance. I mean, there's others that are good, that were good at the time too, but I made sure I didn't miss a single episode of Bill Dance when I was living in Illinois back in the early '90s. So let's go out to Mission and let's go. Let's give it a try. Let's see how it bounces back, and hopefully this time around in August I'd be able to go in there without seeing a dead rat floating on the surface. Okay. All right. I'll catch you next time.